Joe Flacco's time ticking in Cleveland? Ross Tucker's bold prediction puts spotlight on Shedeur Sanders. Introduction. A decision that solves one problem, but creates many others. The Cleveland Browns finally ended weeks of suspense when head coach Kevin Stefanski made the call that fans had been waiting on all summer. Joe Flacco will start at quarterback. The announcement, made on social media with a simple line, "We've named Joe Flacco our starting quarterback," appeared, on the surface, to bring clarity to a messy quarterback room. But in Cleveland, clarity is always temporary. Beneath the surface of this decision lies a storm of questions, predictions, and future uncertainties that may define not only this season, but the trajectory of the franchise. Ross Tucker, former NFL lineman turned podcast host and analyst, summed it up best when he suggested that Flacco's job might be short-lived. He went even further, predicting that all four quarterbacks on the Browns roster, Flacco, Kenny Pickett, rookie Dillon Gabriel, and rookie Shedeur Sanders, could each start games this year. It's a bold claim, but in Cleveland, bold claims are rarely out of place. The Browns' recent history is littered with quarterback carousel seasons, where 3, sometimes 4 players get their shot under center. And if Tucker is right, this season might be another chapter in that same story. But what makes this prediction even more electrifying is who sits in the wings. Shedeur Sanders. Young, talented, polarizing. The son of Deion Primetime Sanders, trying to prove that his rise is not just hype, but the start of something real. Joe Flacco. The safe, familiar choice. Kevin Stefanski's decision to roll with Joe Flacco wasn't shocking. At 39 years old, the veteran brings stability, toughness, and decades of NFL wisdom. He's seen everything there is to see in the league, and for a Browns team facing a brutal opening month of the season, stability is a luxury. Flacco didn't even play in the first 2 preseason games. Instead, he'll use the Rams matchup in the preseason finale as a tune-up, knocking off the rust before Week 1. For now, he's QB1. But as analyst Tony Grossi pointed out, the Browns' announcement was curiously vague. It didn't say Flacco was the starter for the season. It only said he would start the opener. That omission feels deliberate, leaving the door open for change. And history tells us that in Cleveland, change is always closer than it seems. Stefanski's real dilemma: stability versus development. Stefanski is walking a tightrope. On one side is the pressure to win games in the short term. On the other side is the responsibility of building for the future. Flacco is reliable enough to weather the storm early, but everyone knows he isn't the long-term answer. He's more a band-aid than a blueprint. Enter the rookies. Kenny Pickett was supposed to be Stefanski's rejuvenation project, a former first-rounder in need of a career reset, but a hamstring injury derailed his camp. Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, both drafted later, represent wild cards, lottery tickets with massive upside if they pan out. Both rookies, however, have battled injuries themselves. Shedeur missed time with a shoulder and oblique issue. Gabriel, too, was sidelined with a hamstring problem. The result? Joe Flacco was the last man standing, more survivor than conqueror. Ross Tucker's bold claim: 4 quarterbacks, 4 additions. Speaking on the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, the former lineman stunned listeners with a scenario so unusual, it almost sounds like satire. I think it's possible that they have 4 different quarterbacks start 4 games each this year. The reasoning? Simple. Stefanski needs Flacco to guide the team through September's gauntlet of playoff-caliber opponents. But beyond that, what's the point of leaning on a 40-year-old arm when the future needs answers? According to Tucker, Flacco helps them survive early. Pickett gets a rejuvenation audition. Gabriel gets his 4-game shot. Shedeur Sanders gets his 4-game shot. In Tucker's words, Flacco is a placeholder. Every game he starts beyond the first month is a missed opportunity to develop young talent. Shedeur Sanders, more than just Deion's son. Shedeur Sanders has already been under the NFL microscope long before he threw a professional pass. The son of Deion Coach Prime, Sanders carries both the weight of his name and the scrutiny of skeptics who wonder if he's more celebrity than quarterback. But in his first real audition during the preseason, Shedeur flashed brilliance. Against the Carolina Panthers, he torched the defense in the first half, completing throws with poise and confidence. He piled up 138 yards and 2 touchdowns, leading the Browns to a commanding 30-10 win. It wasn't just a stat line. It was a statement. Fans on social media lit up. Analysts who doubted his readiness were forced to pause. And suddenly, the idea of Shedeur climbing the depth chart wasn't far-fetched. Ross Tucker himself acknowledged the rookie's impact. Every game the Browns play this year that isn't started by Gabriel or Shedeur feels like a wasted opportunity. Harsh? Yes. But it reflects the reality of a franchise stuck between short-term safety and long-term vision. The case against Flacco. Ross Tucker isn't the only one asking a hard question. Why waste a year on Joe Flacco? Everyone knows what Flacco is. A Super Bowl champion, yes. A reliable veteran, yes. But at nearly 40 years old, he's not the future. The Browns, according to Tucker, have signaled loud and clear that winning this year is not the priority. The front office isn't building for 2025. It's building for 2026, 2027, and beyond. If that's true, then Shedeur Sanders represents something Joe Flacco never can: hope. Stefanski's fear: burning a rookie too soon. Of course, there's a counter-argument. Throwing a rookie quarterback into the fire against playoff contenders could crush him. Confidence, once broken, is hard to repair. Shedeur Sanders may have the tools, but is he ready to face elite defenses week after week? That's the question gnawing at Stefanski. Coaches know the danger. Plenty of rookies have been thrown in too early, only to be permanently scarred. That fear is likely why Flacco got the Week 1 nod. He's battle-tested. He won't panic when Myles Garrett's defense is under pressure, or when hostile crowds turn deafening. But at what cost? Every Flacco snap is one less learning rep for the future. History repeating in Cleveland. This isn't the first time Cleveland has faced quarterback chaos. In fact, chaos has been the Browns' most consistent trait. Since returning to the NFL in 1999, the Browns have started 36 different quarterbacks. Seasons with 3 or more starters are practically tradition. Ross Tucker's prediction of 4 QBs this season sounds crazy, until you remember it's Cleveland. For the Browns, crazy is normal. Shedeur's health and determination. One factor that could tilt the balance is Shedeur Sanders' health. After missing time with an oblique injury, he returned to practice on August 20th, immediately taking part in 11-on-11 drills. That quick return says a lot. Shedeur isn't content to sit on the depth chart. He wants his chance. He's pushing. He's signaling to Stefanski, "Don't forget about me." And if Stefanski listens, Cleveland fans might see Sanders sooner than anyone expects. The larger picture. What's at stake? This season isn't just about wins and losses. It's about identity. Is Cleveland going to cling to the past, relying on veterans like Flacco to tread water? Or is it going to embrace the future, even if it means pain now, by giving rookies like Sanders and Gabriel the chance to grow? Ross Tucker's words cut to the heart of the dilemma. We know what Joe Flacco is. The rookies are unknowns. Why not find out? The unknown can be terrifying, but it can also be exhilarating. Conclusion. A clock ticking on Flacco. Joe Flacco might be QB1 today, but the clock is ticking. Stefanski knows it. The fans know it. The rookies behind him know it. Shedeur Sanders, in particular, represents a future that Cleveland desperately wants to believe in. A future of hope, excitement, and maybe even redemption from decades of quarterback heartbreak. Ross Tucker's prediction may sound wild, but in Cleveland, wild is possible. For quarterbacks starting 4 games each, it wouldn't just be a storyline. It would be the Browns being the Browns. And in that chaos, Shedeur Sanders might just rise as the quarterback Cleveland has been waiting for all along.